Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the undeniable rise of the nationalist right. India to Italy, Israel, and now America. All these nations will be ruled by decisive leaders like Modi, Giorgia Meloni, Benjamin Netanyahu, and now Donald Trump. While geographic ally apart, their ideologies are stitched together with the common thread of putting the interests of their own nations first. On the other hand, today America becomes the latest nation to see a meltdown of the left liberals. India rejected Rahul Gandhi after warning that Samvidhan khatre mein hai. Justin Trudeau, who appeases Khalistani terror in the name of inclusivity, has faced a massive backlash. And similarly, Kamala Harris, who infamously tried to internationalize India's Kashmir issue, today seems to be rejected in her own backyard by her own voters. As America casts its vote, it is engulfed in a sea of red today with his war cry of "Make America Great Again." Donald Trump made it clear that his policies will put America first. This seems to have resonated with the masses given the rising inflation under Biden. But did the Desi voters of America ditch Kamala Harris as well? The 5.2 million American Indians are crucial in the 7 swing states, out of which 4 have already gone the Trump way. While Kamala Harris cast aside her Indian identity, Trump's Diwali celebration and call to save Hindus in Bangladesh and other countries may have resonated with them. Of course, Modi-Trump bonhomie and the chemistry between the two leaders has always signaled better Indo-US relations. Let's get you a glimpse of an acrimoniously fought American elections, which ended with Trump's acceptance speech coming in today.
I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president and your 45th president. Every single day I will be fighting for you, and with every breath in my body, I will not rest until we have delivered the strong, safe, and prosperous America. Let me tell you, we have a new star. A star is born, Elon. But he's a character, he's a special guy, he's a super genius. We have to protect our geniuses. We don't have that many of them. Many people have told me that God spared my life for a reason. And that reason was to save our country and to restore America to greatness. And now we are going to fulfill that mission together. We're going to fulfill that mission. We overcame obstacles that nobody thought possible, and it is now clear that we've achieved the most incredible political thing. Look what happened. Is this crazy?
Right-leaning leaders in India have seen a pattern in this. Rajiv Chandrasekhar, former minister, says US rejected the lefty politics of lies, intimidation, wokes, anti-democratic values, global inflation and war. But the self-appointed liberals in India decried America's mandate. Trinamool Congress Member of Parliament Saket Gokhale says Indian voter is far more mature when it comes to cutting down the arrogance of self-obsessed authoritarians. Meanwhile, Abhishek Manu Singhvi, senior leader of the Congress party, says Melania Trump will make golden history, third wife for the second time to become the first lady. Now, if this is not below the belt, I don't know what is. Watch how they mock the mandate of America.
Republicans, particularly Trump, had resorted to many gimmickry, like 2 shooting incidents. These are all incidents which we have seen in India that he has copied. Maybe some advisors from India had told that you play a drama so that we can win.
एक तो मुझे बहुत अफसोस लगता है कि ऐसे चरित्र के आदमी जिनको कि अमेरिका की कोर्ट्स ने ही फेलन बताया है और जिसके इतिहास में लिखा है कि वो वैश्यों के पास जाता है और उनको पैसे देता है मुंह बंद करने के लिए, कि ऐसे जलील आदमी को दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा प्रेसिडेंट चुनकर निकाला है.
But what are the parallels between the two nations in the rise of the right and the liberal meltdown? Sample this. In India, Modi always stood for India First policy, while Trump rode to power on his war cry, Make America Great Again. In India, Modi led the renaissance of India's heritage, while Trump has vowed to make America proud again. While the BJP warns batenge to katenge, Trump called to save Hindus in Bangladesh. In fact, on the other side, Rahul Gandhi and the India Alliance has fear-mongered that Samvidhan khatre mein hai, while Kamala Harris feared that democracy is under threat. While the opposition mocked states that backed the BJP as Gaumutra states back BJP, Joe Biden's Trump supporters were called garbage. And this attack clearly backfired. So, ladies and gentlemen, the legitimate question that we're asking on the Newshour tonight is nation first the winning mantra? And is that why the left liberals are facing a meltdown? That's the question and that's the debate coming up on the other side.
You're watching the News Hour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
Joining the debate tonight with me, GVL Narasimha Rao, national spokesperson of the BJP. Also joining the debate, Suhail Seth, marketing guru, Smita Prakash, editor, ANI, Sushant Sareen, strategic affairs expert and fellow at the ORF. Joining me on the show tonight, Vivek Srivastav, political analyst, represents the left. Also joining me tonight, Suman Siraman, left, sorry, not left, just a political analyst. But my first question goes to Sanjay Jha, author and Congress leader. And Sanjay Jha, you know, have you seen the meltdown that is so real? Have you seen the headlines of New York Post, Washington Post, BBC? Those headlines will be on your screen in just a minute. And let me tell you what they say. If the New York Times is looking at this entire issue, his win opens an era of uncertainty for the nation. Washington Post, Trump triumphed, but will his presidency be as dark as his campaign? Oh my God. BBC, a powerful mandate hands Trump a free rein. You know, is this really a meltdown that we could have done without Sanjay Jha? And isn't it the similar meltdown that we are seeing from the leaders of the India Alliance? Saket Gokhale is talking about the maturity of the Indian voter versus the American voter, as if they are waiting for his advice. Manishankar Iyer saying, Vaishya paise lekar. I mean, what is the language? And Manishankar Iyer, last I heard, was an advisor to Pakistan. You know, why is he commenting on the United States of America? And above all, senior leader of the Congress party and legal eagle Abhishek Manu Singhvi puts out a meme in his tweet talking about the third wife of Trump as the second time first lady. I mean, is this a meltdown gone wrong? Because nobody seems to know what they're saying.
Navika, good evening. I think I'm very happy to see that we are all very interested in the results in the American elections. But I think let's have a very neutral debate. We don't have to take hard positions. But I want to start by making 2 points which are relevant. I would like GVL Narasimha Rao to respond to that as and when I finish. It's very surprising how the nationalists today, instead of supporting a Kamala Harris of Indian origin, preferred a white man in Donald Trump to become the president. I would love him to answer that at some point. And please don't give me the cheesy answer that there is an Indian origin wife of the vice president. Let me preempt you there. Point number 2. is it's not, and I would like you and Smita Prakash, we are both very eminent women, and I have a lot of personal respect for both of you. But at some point during today's chat, please do let me know, how do you feel about a man and a political party that wants to deny women their fundamental right to health and deny them their reproductive freedom and abortion rights? At some point, Smita and you, I would love to hear your personal views on it. Now, you're blaming BBC, New York Times. Frankly, I don't care a damn. I mean, they are papers. I like them. I read them. But I'm going to tell you what the Republicans themselves thought of Donald Trump. He has become the president. Of course, he's become the president. But let's know the truth. You know what Mitch McConnell, the Senate leader, minority leader, said? He said Donald Trump is stupid, he's dumb, and he's a despicable human being. This is a Republican Senate leader, Mitch McConnell, the most respected Republican. By the way, John Kelly, the chief of staff who worked under Trump, called him a fascist. And I've got another gentleman who referred to him as somebody who was unfit morally and temperamentally for office. I'm not even quoting to you why various magazines and newspapers endorsed Kamala Harris. Now, here is the truth, Navika. He's become the president. Why not? But he's been convicted for felony, sexual favors, fudging business records, tax fraud, and going against his own government and calling the 2020 election as a fraud. And we all know what happened on January 6, 2021. So I think we need to take a deep breath here. The issue, as far as India is concerned, let's get very real. China, whether it's Democrat,
before
Joe
you go to the issues on India, I really think you should take a deep breath. Breathe in and don't breathe out for a while, because let me tell you, he called elections a fraud in 2020. So you're putting him in the doghouse. You call Indian elections a fraud every day. आपका क्या करें? और आप आज याद कर रहे हैं statements that have been made, against Trump. This is the citizenship or citizenry of America that has chosen him. Doesn't make him a tyrant, doesn't make him a dictator. You can call him whatever you want. That's the choice of the people. How come you're not bowing down to the choice of the people? Or do you really believe that Indian voter are more intelligent than the American voter? And you're talking about women. Just what has Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi said in his tweet? Is that really giving a lot of respect to women? And that's what he said about Donald Trump's wife. Come on, take a deep breath, and I'll send some fire tenders to the meltdown that's happening to our Indian liberals as well. Fire tenders on their way. But Suhail said, a lesson from Sanjay Jha about respect for women, like really, after Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi's statement, after statements made by Manishankar Iyer?
Navika.
So,
I'm coming to you, GV.
Taking forward what Sanjay said, and I'm a great believer that America is as much a democracy as India is. He has been voted to power by the American people. If you want to indict Donald Trump, as Sanjay has every right to, a lot of people don't like him, a lot of people like Kamala Harris, it is also an indictment of the American voter, if you call that an indictment. But let's focus on the issues that actually won Donald Trump the election. The issues were four. Number one, his stand on illegal immigration. Number two, his stand on the purposefulness of not actually abstaining from wars. Number three, the economy, which even Sanjay knows, his brothers in the United States, Sanjay knows that the economy did go for a toss in some areas, not in all. Number four, you had a president, Sanjay, who was not in power. He was in office. He was being controlled by the deep state, which was being managed by Barack Obama. Donald Trump has won a decisive victory. It's not the kind that Al Gore and George Bush had to go through, which went to SCOTUS, which went to the Supreme Court. What do we see today? You're absolutely right, Sanjay. There is a problem across the world about national identity. But that's a global problem because people are seeing jobs being taken away by people not from that nation. We saw it in Brexit. We saw it earlier. Kenichi Ohmae wrote a book called A Borderless World. That borderless world doesn't exist. Number two, look at the amount of money that America spent during Biden's tenure, A, in the pullout of Afghanistan, B, in the whole Zelensky-Russia duel, and now with Israel and Gaza. The problem, Sanjay, is, and I'm only addressing it because, he started the debate, is that Donald Trump has actually given you a path. You may disagree with the path. Totally. I absolutely respect that. But he gave a very clear path. What did Kamala Harris do? She went from one mess up to the other. She even denied being part of the government which took decisions, and then at some stage said, no, I think that decision was great. You had a vacillating candidate versus a candidate who was clear. You may disagree with Donald Trump. I think he's unhinged most of the time. But the fact is, he's a businessman. He's a negotiator. He will do deals. Today, the world needs some level of calmness. You cannot have the world imploding at every front. You cannot have the world going to war. The only concern that Donald Trump will have is how to run America. For those people who think, he will withdraw visas and he will be perilously punishing on Indian companies, must think again. He's not India's president. He's been elected by the American people to manage America. He's not been elected by the Indian diaspora to manage India. Finally, and I will end by saying this, it is in our interest, Sanjay, and everyone here on the panel, to respect democracy in its very edifice, which is an election. If the election had been stolen, if the election had been bluffed about, I accept. But it's a decisive mandate for Donald J. Trump. Americans must have a reason to vote for him, even if we don't like him.
Well, GVL Narasimha Rao, the narrative that democracy is in danger didn't work in India when it was brought up by the opposition, and it hasn't worked in America either. I want to ask you, is it now the death of this fear-mongering finally when the two oldest and largest democracies see this narrative failing?
Certainly, Navika, today's election of President Trump is a resounding rebuff to all those opinion makers who think they can really influence the electorate, they can literally push elections in the direction they want. That kind of narrative building is not going to it doesn't work. And I am at a loss to understand why the Congress leadership, entire leadership, is mourning a victory of President Trump. Like Sohail said, this is an election of the American president, and it's the right of the people of America whom they want to choose as their president. And it's very unbecoming of any political party in India or anywhere in the world to really make commentary running down their own election and calling names. I think this only shows the pettiness of the Congress party, the communists. It shows your intolerance to democracy. He's been elected through the process of elections, and I haven't seen Democrats or their candidate Kamala Harris contesting the result. And why is the Congress party, and possibly some of them are giving ideas to the Democrats to somehow try and cry over the election of President Trump? I think we need to be mature. The whole world looks at India and Indian politics as a very responsible democracy, and for political leaders in India to make such cheap comments, it only lowers the dignity of Indian, the image of Indian politics across the world. We don't have a stake. We don't decide who America selects as their president.
Absolutely.
And there is certainly a huge applause about President Trump's victory. There is a celebration. I think that's how public responded, because they've seen President Trump being a friend of India during his previous administration. And And the Congress party is absolutely, they should put a stop to all these comments.
He was never
Because
Forget the
making
Congress
such
party.
comments
I want to get in
against an
Vivek
elected president of
Srivastava.
another
I want to
country
get in
is that
Vivek
you're trying
Srivastava. And
to-
Vivek Srivastava,
You are
not
trying to actually
one
damage
leader of the
Indo-US
Democrat
relations.
side is actually questioning the election results. Not one question has been raised about the election process. Nobody's questioning the institutions in America. In fact, it's really pathetic that the DMK's spokesperson had to come out and say that the assassination attempts on President Donald Trump were also because of some advice that went in from India. Ke drama karo, election jeet jaoge. I want to ask you, is this the nature of meltdown that we are going to display to the world today?
No, it's not the question of meltdown. I dislike and I hate Donald Trump, and I don't mince words. I'm very clear about it. He's a fanatic, and I mean the people of America have been wrong. Yes, it's a democratic process. They have chosen the wrong man. Like Sohail sir was saying, that yes, I have a right to dissent. I don't agree with his policies. Kamala Harris may have done something wrong. Her campaign could have been bad. That's a different story. I don't support a man who is against abortion rights of women. I don't support a man in 2024 who in his interview says that if some woman is caught illegally doing some abortion, put her behind the bars. Let there be states, and the specific drugs, the names he was taking, which women take for abortions, to curtail out pregnancies which they don't want. He was taking the entire names of them in interviews. How many of us should support this kind of a man? He is an Islamophobe. He is never a friend of India. He might have an equation with Modi, and that's not important to me. I have seen his visa records in the past, and even in the future, I'm not expecting him to do much. Yes, Jibril will say, "अरे भाई वो तो अमेरिका का राष्ट्रपति है, तो आप क्यों खुश हो रहे हैं साहब? फिर मोदी साहब की कौन सी दोस्ती है उनके साथ?" That is what he's saying. Netanyahu is doing a bhangra, and Mr. Donald Trump is saying, I'm going to go to Palestine and Gaza, and 2 hours the problem is going to be solved. How, I do not know. And why is Mr. Netanyahu so euphoric? How is he going to sort out Ukraine? Zelensky is scared. He is saying, "Mujhe bolenge compromise karo." I mean, what is the world going to come to? And lastly, the good relations that my Prime Minister has been building with China in the last 1 or 2 months, it's all going to go down the drain. Closeness of Modi to Trump is not good for India. It's not good for our international relations.
प्रॉब्लम आपकी निकल कर सामने आ गई. चाइना का इंपॉर्टेंस कम हो जाएगा, ट्रंप का इंपॉर्टेंस ज्यादा हो जाएगा, and the world was really waiting to know from
I advocate friendship with
about
China.
Women's rights. What is your view? You should tell us your view about Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi's tweet. What is your view on that tweet? Is that actually respecting women?
No. See,
is that respecting women? Mani Shankar Iyer's statement, respecting women. Vaishya बुला रहे. No, please tell me. What do you think about those tweets? You're worried about women and abortion rights in the United States, but you will not comment on statements made by leaders from the India Alliance. Smita Prakash, how hypocritical is this? And why is this meltdown? Because China-India equation will be now below the Trump-Modi equation. What's going on?
You know what? In another 4 years, if you get Mani Shankar Iyer again to come and give a response on the American election, and if he's again badmouths Trump will get a third term. It seems like that. I mean, he comes in the end moment pe aa jate hain, and him saying charitraheen hai, zaleel hai. This is redux of exactly what he did with the chaiwala and the niche comment, and again Trump won. I mean, you can make sure 4 years from now Trump will probably get, I don't know whether constitutionally it's allowed, whether he can get a third term in this. And less said.
Ban on abortions? You justify ban on abortions?
Can I just complete what I was saying?
Justify ban on abortions?
Did
I asked you a straight question.
Did I interrupt you and are you the anchor of the show? Did I interrupt you and are you the anchor of the show? I asked you a question very respectfully. No, I am not obliged to answer you. I am not obliged to answer you.
Vivek Srivastava, allow Smita to make her point. Vivek Srivastava, you didn't respond to Abhishek Manu Singhvi's
respectfully
comment
asked
either,
the
so you have
same
no
question to
right to
question.
ask questions of anybody else.
No,
Just
I'm very
let
clear.
the
I
anchor
respect
ask the questions.
whatever Abhishek
And when I
Manu
need
said,
help
is
from
good.
you,
It's okay.
I will ask for it. Right now, I don't. Allow Smita to make her point.
Sure.
Smita.
The meltdown of the Indian communists, if he's a representative of that league,
So she favors the
you can
man
be
on a bush.
certain that the meltdown of his is much more than even the Democrats in America. We've been watching the American channels. ये बेचारे और ज़्यादा meltdown हो रहा है इनका. As far as the morality of legal eagles which you run on there, lesser said the better. Sanjay Jha asked you and me about what we feel as women. About abortion rights. Certainly, Mr. Jha, I am really appalled at that. Something like this is happening in the first world, let alone the most prosperous nation in the world, probably largest or the one of the largest democracies in the world. That women don't have a choice about that. But on the other hand, what I want to say is that we as journalists don't have this bhakti that anybody who becomes a prime minister or president of any country in the world, we are oblivious of the faults that they have. Their country has elected them. It doesn't matter what I think about it as somebody thousands of miles away. Their country is elected through a fair and legal process. Unko bhugatna padega what they have done. It doesn't mean that it's going to be a land of milk and honey, and it is a land of opportunity. We all want to go to America. We want to send our children to America to study, to work out there. Everybody wants to go there, regardless who the president of that country is. And whoever the president of the country, our administration will have to learn to deal with it. Whether it would have been Kamala Harris or whether it is Donald Trump today. The other thing that they were talking about nation first and America, that Trump has this policy about America first. Whoever becomes the president, Trump speaks about nation first and America first. The point is that everybody does. Biden's presidency wasn't exactly negative for India, though they do a lot of virtue signaling. The Democrats do with regard to human rights, etc. in India, regardless of which party is in power in India. They do that to Indians. But Biden's presidency has been pretty good. As far as Trump is concerned, there will probably be a continuity of the same thing when it comes to India, because there is a bipartisan support towards this relationship. But is it going to be absolute smooth sailing? No, because as far as Trump is concerned, the only thing one can be certain about is the uncertainty. However, this time he has the popular vote as well as the electoral college vote, and he probably has both houses also in his pocket. So, which means that legislation will be easier. What we will have is going forward is that both Trump and Modi have worked with each other. It's not a new relationship.
Yes,
Hopefully
and they will, and both countries will have their own priorities, and sometimes these will clash, and both countries will have to stand their own ground and negotiate as is done in any mature relationship. But Suman Siraman, my question to you is, why is there so much of shock and awe in the so-called liberal universe today? Why is the coming of Trump the blackest part of history, the blackest chapter of history? Just as it was said about Modi, that everything will come to an end, democracy will be over, constitution will be done away with. Similar fears were stated even in the American campaign on the Democrat side. It hasn't worked. I just want to ask you, blaming the electorate, blaming social media today. Suddenly Saket Gokhale is very worried about X. He says Elon Musk, God knows what he's doing. Has he influenced elections? Well, there was a whole tribe that was making a lot of noise through the way social media was being handled. Facebook in the past, we know the Congress party and its charges that have been made against it, manipulating the rhetoric here. The question is, suddenly you realize what happens to Soros and company. Not one word against them earlier, but now suddenly this whole diatribe against Elon Musk.
Okay. Navika, first of all, 2-3 quick points. One, I'm glad you used the word liberal universe. So it is across the world. If you see the media in places like the UK, in mainland Europe, the shock that they have felt at this result is very, very apparent. It's not just in the United States that New York Times is saying something or the Washington Post is saying something. It's across the world. And you have to wonder if across the world, educated people, scientists, engineers, and people who are intellectuals are predominantly getting agitated about the result. You have to wonder. Now, the point is, every single person who has spoken in support of Trump on this show have always had a caveat. But you know what, I don't agree with this. But you know what, he is unhinged. But you know what, he may be deranged. I mean, that itself is more than enough reason to say why people are concerned about what is happening. I saw this interview with Brian Cox, the British actor, and he put it beautifully. He said Donald Trump has only one loyalty, and that is to Donald Trump. End of story. What will he do? Will he do this? Will he do that? Will he keep up all his campaign promises? Nobody, maybe not even Donald Trump, actually know that. It depends on what he thinks of on that particular day. I don't know, Navika, whether you watched any of his campaign speeches in the last 2 weeks. I mean, unhinged is a very mild word. Most of the sentences would start somewhere, it wouldn't finish. And then when this was pointed out repeatedly, the campaign gave him a term called the weave, where he said, I would start somewhere, then I would introduce a story and speak. And so many of them were lies. That the American people did not seem to mind. Maybe he is Teflon coated, like many other autocrats in different parts of the world. Nothing seems to stick.
That's
not
where I have a problem. And that is the language. Autocrats, dictators, fascists, Sushant Sareen, democratic elections, people of India chose Modi, people of America chose Trump, but they are autocrats and dictators as far as Suman C. Raman and his ilk go. And that is the question I'm asking tonight. That is the question I'm asking tonight. Why and who gives them the right to be so judgmental about the choice of the people in America?
Navika, unfortunately, that is the right they have arrogated to themselves, and it's reflected in the kind of stuff we have heard in your show. You know, the sheer disdain and disgust that they show for the masses of countries, whether in India or in the US or in some of the other countries. People who vote on the basis of their own preference, they want to deny it to them, and one of the reasons why Trump succeeded. He was addressing the people and their concerns. His elite, with their superciliousness, with their arrogance, their snobbishness, with their elite college degrees and their elite jobs.
These are guys, when Google, for example, pays hundreds of millions of dollars to a campaign, that is perfectly kosher. But if Elon Musk is supporting Trump, I think some grave misjustice has been carried out. Okay, this is the kind of attitude they have. These guys are intolerant, they are fascist, they have absolutely no, concern for what actually might be moving the crowd, what might be moving or what might be working with the electorate. Sanjay Jha, for example, talks about Indian nationalism and then he talks about Kamala Harris. Do I give a damn about Kamala Harris? She might be of Indian origin. How is it of any concern to me if she's of Indian origin? Because there are a lot of Uncle Toms in US universities and in the US political system who do not bat for India. If somebody is not going to be batting for India, it makes no difference for me whether it's Trump or Kamala Harris. There is that woman, Previla Jayapal, right? She has actually targeted India, for example, on Kashmir. There is that other clown, Ro Khanna. He does the same thing. Why should I, just because he happens to be of Indian origin, I should kowtow to him, I should listen to him, I should be bothered about what happens to him? I don't care. I am interested in the interest of my country, in the interest of my people. I don't care of somebody who has gone abroad and who might be working out there. Thirdly, did Kamala Harris ever identify herself as an Indian? She always identified herself as an African American. She was always chary of using her Indian heritage as an election thing. It's only when she wanted to suck up to some of the Indian voters that she would talk about her village in Tamil Nadu and, her family relations in India. So how am I concerned about her? But I think the important part is, and what we have to understand is that, look, the Americans have voted for their president. India and the United States, we have a large and a very multi-dimensional kind of a relationship. It's not a single issue relationship. It's not just security and strategy. And incidentally, on security and strategy, there is a lot of convergence. But there is also a lot of convergence in a range of other issues. Now, there will be negotiations. There will be transactionalism, which has always been there between India and the US. The important thing, however, is that at least we will not get that supercilious, moralizing, sermonizing lectures from these American white wokes who would tell us how to run our democracy, who would tell us how to run our country, who would want to interfere in our country, who would want to influence.
And Sanjay Jha, does that bother you? That no longer will there be the supercilious preaching, as Sushant Sareen points out.
Well, let me tell Sushant Sareen, since he talked about, Trump, that the bottom line is, Mr. Sareen, that it is Donald Trump who basically said that I will let the army go behind my enemies within. And that is the extraordinary similarity between the Prime Minister of India, who keeps talking about the danger within the urban Naxals, and exactly what Donald Trump is talking there. So, Navika, let's bite the bullet here. I didn't interrupt you. Let me finish.
Oh, so the circle is complete. The circle is complete because it is not the EVM that they are at war with. It is nothing else but Modi that they are at war with. Because when they win elections through EVM in Telangana, Karnataka, Himachal, it's all acceptable, Jammu and Kashmir. When BJP wins anywhere, EVMs are a problem because Modi is the problem. And because Modi and Trump are alike, so there is a problem. Sushant Sareen, ये मर्ज निकल के आ गया, तवा क्या है?
Navika, simple reply to what Sanjay is saying. Look, the point is that we've seen Trump in presidency in 4 years now, right? He was president for 4 years. Yes, he is abrasive. Yes, as he's unpredictable. All of that is there. But please tell me, he would give back to the press as good as he gets. What? Did he ever put anybody from the media in jail? Did he ever put any of his opponents in jail? In fact, ever since he became president in the first term, it was his opponents who, without any kind of grace, any kind of acceptance, tried to, impeach him, tried to do all kinds of other things, tried to use lawfare against him, which is the same thing which they tried to do when they came into power. They are the ones who carried out a witch hunt against him. A lot of the, incidentally, we are talking about a convicted felon, okay? There are a whole lot of characters in Indian politics who are allies and very close allies of people in the opposition parties who are convicted felons. How come that is kosher? But they have a problem when something like similar happens in the US, then it is very clearly a witch hunt. If you look at the entire legal cases against him, you look at the entire, all the stuff which has happened against him, it was very clear that it was a witch hunt against him. But again, that is an American issue. That's not my issue. As an Indian, I will look at whether whoever has won the election, I can do business with them, and I will not have any interference in my own internal affairs. I will not have.
Well, but the problem is not that, Sushant Sareen. The problem is that the India Alliance thinks that it is only they and their friends who deserve to be in power, which is why this entire argument is proceeding, which is why everybody else is an autocrat. The question really continues to be the meltdown across the world. Question being raised about why would Indian leaders be so involved so as to put out statements and tweets that clearly are derogatory, if nothing else. Well, The meltdown is real. Let's wait and watch how this presidency moves forward and how relations with India will move forward. And to debate that, as I thank all the guests on my debate number one, I